Hello and welcome to the Two Ball Brothers and a Microphone podcast. This is co-host Danny Ryan. I'm here with the other co-host Tommy Ryan. How are you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing well.
That was a fun podcast we did last time with the Tesla.
We could do part 2, part 3, part 4 if you like. Learning new things every day.
Oh, give me one thing. What's one cool thing that you've learned lately with the Model 3?
Of course, all these things are probably nothing unique to cars.
To just new cars
today, but I haven't had a new car in a while.
Yeah.
The feature where when I stop the car, it goes into easy out mode where you can program it to bring the seat back and the steering wheel to telescope in and up. So you can easily get in and out of the car.
That's nice.
Which is kind of cool. It feels kind of
space
rocket
age?
ship
Yeah.
type stuff.
Yes.
Elon's all about those rocket ships.
Yes, he is. Take my Tesla Model 3 to Mars, baby, to Mars and back. I got a kick out of. I saw the picture that you sent to Dad and I with Linda driving the car, and she's holding on, and you could see it was raining outside. So I think it's from what you've described, it's taken a while to get used to turning it on the autopilot and trusting the car to keep you on the road. And,
yeah. It's it's fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so today I would like to talk to you about something that's been pondering around in my head, and I think something that typically our customers run into. I know that we run into as a small professional services business, but it's one of those age-old questions, which is sort of like the build versus buy question, which is it has a similar lead up to it, which is decisions need to be based off of requirements, where you need to have some sort of a way of evaluating different paths that you want to go on. But the thing I wanted to talk to you today was about platform versus purpose built. And I run into this in a lot of different places. One is you know, I do with a lot of the marketing that I do, there's different routes that you can go. You get more of like an all-in-one marketing platform like the Marketos or the HubSpots or the Pardots of the world, where it sort of does a lot of all this stuff for you and is an integrated thing. Versus you can get more of like one-off, so buy more one-off products. And then you can also do a combination of the two, where you can get more of an all-in-one suite and then get some one-offs off of it as well, more purpose-built things that come out. So I run into that just in the marketing area. I know for our customers, we are typically working with folks who, or all the time working with folks who are moving to Office 365, which we call a platform that has all sorts of applications available to you. Some of them more mature than others, and some of them better integrated than others. Right. And our last couple of conversations has been around the important subject of task management, and that's a very important thing with regards to productivity. I will get to a question eventually, but this is quite a lead up to it. So we have this platform that we help customers with, and then we've run into situations where recently a lot of the SharePoint intranet in a box products have come up. And so you have this question of, do I use what's built in the platform, that's what's built into Office 365 or SharePoint, versus do I add another product to it? And I'll call it a more purpose-built product that does something and does something well. And so I wanted to talk with you about just sort of what we've seen, this whole process that people might go through, and just have a conversation with you about that. And I think right now we're at the place of really of customers coming to us and asking us in particular, do I use SharePoint as itself, or do I use do I introduce another product into it? So question is you're seeing the same thing? Has this come up, or what's is this also something that keeps you up at night, I guess, as it come up when you're talking with customers and as people are looking at this?
Yeah, as it relates to SharePoint and Internet in the Box and people's, and I think you're getting specific around that, and there's the broader term of platform versus purpose-built. But in the, day-to-day, with the job migrations that we have, I think we see, half and half, or maybe more than half, that are looking at the Internet in the Box options. And I think it has to do with making sure that they can get the best of both worlds, have a backing platform that allows them to use some of the services that come with putting documents into the platform. And then there's organizations that are not as happy with what you can do with the kind of unstructured, non-binary type file content that are in things like blogs and wikis and other social type of features. And so there's organizations that are finding that middle ground of not buying a system like Jive that might not have the enterprise backing that a Microsoft has, but they want to have something that has an innovative piece that they feel that's going to be a cadence a little bit faster than what Microsoft has to offer. Microsoft is going quickly, but definitely not as quickly as they could go, as a smaller, nimble product company can do. And so you see a spectrum. You see organizations that are trying to say, let's hold back, let's not have to be on the bleeding edge, let's use what Microsoft has to offer, let's do it in a way that gives us a future that we can grow with the platform as it grows. And so when we're migrating content, they might not want to put it into a wiki anymore. Maybe they put it into a modern page and use commenting on a modern page for what they would normally do for wiki style, just because of what you see in terms of direction and where things are going with how things are put into a SharePoint in the SharePoint platform today. And then people look at that and say, that's okay, but there's a lot of things I would like to have. I would like to have the tagging. I would like to have threaded comments, rich text comments, things that maybe I don't get when I'm in the platform. So that ends up pushing people to go to Internet in the Box options. And then they have to decide, how much of that content do I want the platform to own versus I'm okay with it going into another CMS system.
Yeah.
Because when you look at, having some of that social content, the data structures that Microsoft is providing to natively store that are not really optimal to give you all the features maybe you're looking for. So these product companies are really trying to decide, where do they land? Do they create something that they have full control over and can really move it in a direction and have less dependency on things that might change that could impact how they can provide a user experience? Or say, gosh, the more I put in the platform, the more companies are going to be happy about, I've got some choice, with maybe layering on something different at a later date. So it's an interesting spectrum to have to kind of make decisions around, and there's no right answer. I think it has to do with organizationally what's most important to them. Do they want to move a little bit slower, have less change over time, or they want to get the latest and greatest and provide their organization something that is going to really be more engaging than kind of the standard out-of-the-box experience.
Yep. Yeah. And really, a lot of this is looking at, I think there's things that a platform really, when I look at sort of providing what every company, sort of a horizontal solution, where what every company needs to have. You have some basics of what you need to have, with security and all sort of the fundamental pieces. What I think is interesting recently is, we've been talking quite a bit about Microsoft Teams, and how, as part of it, I think Microsoft understands the situation of you want to bring your own, you want to bring like the whole, you're going to be using this with other applications. So they've got, their integrations and their connectors, and sort of they're starting from the get-go where the expectation is you're going to, they want to be the plumbing. They want to be the you're building on this. And then it's funny, we've had some discussions where we're reading the book from Satya Nadella called Hit Refresh. And we ended up one of the meetings where we were saying, like, Microsoft provides a lot of these sort of building pieces, but then you have to have a partner like us, or you have to have someone who comes in and actually crafts out and builds out what the end solution is. So that is a key component of what happens in all of this. And I think to myself, and I'm like, stop complaining of that they don't build out the entire solution, because this gives us an opportunity to come in, listen to the unique needs of that customer, create something that's uniquely theirs that provides value to their organization, and we're the last mile. We're bringing in the expertise that's needed to create something uniquely for them.
Right. Yeah, and I think Microsoft will, as a platform, move towards a polished product, and maybe get their 80%. And that allows organizations to use it out of the box and get value, although it won't be as good as a polished product that might be purpose-built for one area that is one of many within Office 365. And so I think you can see people go to extremes where they look at platforms that are more just development platforms, that you have to start from scratch, and there's really not much there if you took it out of the box. You need to build it. And then you've got the fully polished, where it does what it does, and if you don't like it, you kind of have to deal with it, because it's kind of closed off to function in a certain way, and they don't want to open themselves up to the challenge of having more of a platform opportunity. And I think that's why we've gravitated towards Microsoft, is because they depend on the partner ecosystem to bring it to the last mile, to give it that extra 20%. And we like the idea of not reinventing the wheel with something, and having a starting point that it's not the 3-wheel framework, but it's the Microsoft collaboration framework that has so much support to allow us to have that strong foundation. And it's easy to complain about what's not there, and how they've got a couple things that just don't give it a good starting point. Things like To Do, where we talked about last time, that's frustrating. And I think it's a challenge in an organization the size of Microsoft and the breadth of what they do, is where do you really hone in and knock it out of the park, and where are you going to fall short, and is that going to impact your mission that you have as an organization of trying to provide this platform. And I think the nature of how Microsoft goes about some of these things like tasking and wikis is it creates some internal, I don't know if competition is the right word, but to say, okay, planner, project, To Do, Wunderlist, here are a couple of our approaches. Let's see which one rises to the top and gets the adoption, and then we put our energy behind that. I think they will be willing to try other things. I think what can be confusing is, okay, which one are you lining up behind? And that is where you have to kind of guess and kind of look at where is the momentum. When we see new task features, is it showing up more in Planner? Is it showing up more in To Do? Or is it showing up more in Project Online? And for us, we're starting to do a little bit more in Planner, and we thought it was going to be To Do, because that would be that one central place. But we're putting more energy in Planner right now because of the evidence of what is Microsoft doing in the integration story and the features that are coming out.
I think from just looking at what's going on, when you have platform versus purpose-built, Microsoft wants to be the platform. I think sometimes they create some of the purpose-built ones to understand,
to show you this is how you can do it.
This is how you can do it, or this is how you shouldn't do it. But they create them. But they're from a business standpoint, and we have this conversation quite a bit because we're moving people from really a Jive is a platform. It's the security. It's a platform move. It's expensive, right? To move platforms.
Oh yeah.
For moving products, for moving a purpose-built product. I mean, it's like, choose what you want. What do you guys want to use for task management? From move to one to the other, it's a lot easier to do that than it is to rip out the plumbing and move the plumbing. And in the end, Microsoft wants to win the war of creating the plumbing. They can lose the one-off battles. In fact, they want to enable a healthy ecosystem on top of the platform. But along with that, you can see that the focus for them would be, hey, we want to provide the security, we want to provide the underlying needs that are in place for this overall approach that a company would take. And that's a battle that they want to go after versus the Googles and the larger the other platform players of the world.
Yeah, what's interesting is Microsoft was able to survive the jives of the world that brought some of their customers outside of their platform for intranet collaboration, extranet type of collaboration. But at the end of the day, their customers were still using platform pieces like Exchange and OneDrive and all these things that give them hints and clues towards, we're providing you some of these services and they're working for you and the underpinnings are there. You're going over here and you're fractionating your platform, and it's nice and shiny over here, but over time you're going to be basically putting content in multiple places and creating more of a challenge for you. And I think a lot of organizations we see are coming back in. But I think you're going to see that ebb and flow where
you will.
People and platforms get complacent with certain aspects of it, and then the community will vote by saying, "Okay, I'm not seeing enough innovation here. We're going to go try the next Jive." But Microsoft has weathered that, I think, because they have a broad platform that hits multiple aspects of an enterprise that not many organizations have. Very, very unique. I mean, you don't see that with Cisco. I mean, you have Cisco and you have Google and there's other bigger players, but they're just not as broad in the enterprise. I mean, it's amazing how Microsoft has done this for so many years. Usually you see a new player come in and reinvent it. But I think what we're seeing with Hit Refresh is Microsoft has realized we have to reinvent ourselves. We can't be the same Microsoft we were 20, 30 years ago.
Yep. And I think with the larger organizations that we typically work with, they'll have multiple platforms. And I think they do this from a negotiation standpoint.
Definitely.
But if you've got all your eggs in one basket, when the yearly time to re-sign the contracts, people know whether you've got alternatives out there as well.
That's right.
And so I think a part of this is, as well as that, sometimes these larger organizations might even have multiple platforms in play purely from a negotiation standpoint, because they can't, if they don't have that ability to move from one to the other. And larger organizations are doing this typically over a 2 to 3 year time frame anyhow, because it could take that long to make the move. But I see that's also at play as well with all of this.
Right, and they can also see where does Microsoft stack up to the others and experience that firsthand. So they're feeling comfortable that, we should still be using Microsoft for XYZ service versus, there might be another player that can give them a better option.
Which is why probably they're typically always talking about what's coming. I want to know about what's today. But then they've always got to seem like, what's coming 2 to 3 years from now, you'll be happy with, because these larger enterprises are like, well, I don't hear Microsoft talking about this, and that's the next big thing.
We saw that with social for a while, and I think that's why a lot of people moved into Jive, is because they took a while to do that Yammer acquisition, and it was a little bit too late for a lot of big players that ended up going to Jive.
Yeah. This is good. I just wanted, this is more of just a conversation, talking back and forth. I think for us, what I see is where, and it's a great thing. We're obviously a Microsoft partner, so, our platform is Office 365. And then I think a lot of with it, what for us, there will be certain situations in which we'll augment that with purpose-built products, like we use GoToMeeting for client-facing meetings, right. And there'll be things that we have some specific requirement that's in place that says that we need to add something on top of what's built into the platform.
Yep.
So, and then just using as much. I think we want to use as much of the platform as we can, and try to understand what's there as well, but really make sure it works with what we're trying to do. Cool. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Thanks for sitting down and talking here. We may, I know we've mentioned the book a couple times. Maybe next time we get together, we'll do a check-in on that, and we'll be into chapter 4 or so. So we're making our way through the book and do a little bit of what we've learned so far with that.
Yeah, maybe instead of talking about socks, I can give you a Tesla feature of the week.
Let's move on to that. That sounds like a great idea. You can see I don't have any socks on today, so
can't talk about my
socks. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Have a wonderful day. Thanks, Tommy.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.